have a quick prayer. Our Father in heaven, we truly thank you again for this time that we go through your word. We ask you to have the Holy Spirit dwell in our hearts and minds, and ask you to be with Lisa and Dion, that they might get to feeling better, and be with the rest of the people in the church. Watch over them and take care of them, be with our country. As we go through all this, we ask you to be with us today, for we ask it in Jesus' blessed name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, I've got up here Genesis 10, but then right below it I've got Genesis 9. And I thought when I was just reading it, because we got last time we was going through Genesis, we got through 7 and 8, and I just read Genesis out of the Bible, and I didn't read it out of my chronological Bible. It'd been better if I had it, because I've got, when you get into 9, you can see I've got a whole bunch of stuff marked up there. So I thought I'd go back over just a little bit of it. In the beginning of chapter 9, it says, "Then God blessed Noah and his sons, saying to them, be fruitful and increase in number and fill the earth. The fear and dread of you will fall on all beasts of the earth, and on all the birds of the sky, and on every creature that moves along the ground, and on all the fish in the sea. They are given to you into your hand." Then it says, "Everything that lives and moves about will be food for you. Just as I give you the green plants, I now give you everything." So, it was kind of thinking when we first started reading it that, before the flood, everybody was a vegetarian. And nobody eat the animals. I don't know how that went with all the earth getting corrupt. There might have been some of them killing animals, you don't know. But then you had the law, and there were certain things that you couldn't eat, But then I was thinking, well, we had Acts chapter 10 where Peter had his vision. And it says in Peter's vision here, he saw the heavens open and everything like a large sheet was being let down to earth by the four corners. It contained all kinds of four-footed animals, as well as reptiles and birds. Then the voice told him, "Get up, Peter, kill and eat." And Peter said, "Surely not, Lord." Peter replied, "I have never eaten anything impure or unclean." And the voice spoke to him the second time, "Do not call anything impure that God has made." And this happened 3 times, and immediately the sheep was taken back into heaven. Now, that's talking about food, but actually in that chapter 10, it was talking about the Gentiles. But I thought that, put it that way, in verse 3 of chapter 9, it just fit right in with chapter 10 of Acts. And then the other thing we probably skipped over a little bit was in verse 6. "Whoever sheds human blood, by humans shall their blood be shed, for it is the image of God has made mankind." So this is the penalty for killing somebody, that you get the death penalty. People don't like the death penalty, but God says that's the deal. If you want to take somebody's life, then, and it's amazing, it happens all the time. And Alice has gotten bored with watching some of the regular shows, so we've been watching 48 Hours and 2020 and Dateline, and how people kill one another. And it just a lot of times for not much of any reason at all. Last one was another woman, I'd seen one before that was poisoning her husband. Trying to do this. This one, on the one she killed, he was very resilient because she tried several different kinds of poisons before she tried antifreeze on him, he would get sick, but he wasn't dying. Her and her daughter were both trying to get rid of him so they could get the insurance money. She had killed her husband before too.
For insurance.
This one here was just more stubborn.
So both of them will be spending life in prison, so. Well, one thing about life in prison, you don't have to worry about room and board or food. It's all furnished for you. Okay, after I done that, I was reading chapter 10 and chapter 11. I went to chapter 11. And I'll explain to you why as we go through it, but chapter 11 is verse 1. It says, "Now the whole world had one language and a common speech. As people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar,
Shinar, yeah.
and settled there. They said to each other, 'Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly.' They used bricks instead of stones and tar for mortar." I wonder how tar for mortar worked. It don't seem logical to me, but they must have knew what they was doing. Of course, they might not have had mortar mixed up.
It'd be sticky.
Yeah, it would stick.
It'd be sticky.
Yeah.
Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches into the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise we will be scattered over the face of the earth, of the whole earth." So a lot of times that's what people want. They want recognition. Look here what I did. I can do this, I can do that. Or I did that. That's probably the biggest one. I did that. Look what I did. And that's what they was going to say. They was going to build this big tower and say, "Look what we did." So, but the Lord came down to see the city and the tower of the people were building. The Lord said, "If as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them." Now we've got to think, what's the world today? We're more or less, we can communicate with anybody in the world. And as we see, all the amazing things, sometimes we don't think of it, I think lights or telephones was first, where you could communicate back and forth. Now you've got cell phones and television. You can make a phone call and talk to somebody clear on the other side of the world. And just right now, when Mike was over there, we could call. He'd call us and we'd sit there and talk, and he was clear on the other side of the world from us. It's things then the television and films and stuff, they just drag stuff right out of the air. We have our televisions there, and we sit there and we just pick up everything that they, especially when we was using satellites, cable's a little bit different. They've got lines for it, but how did that picture run through all those lines? You start to think, how does all that work? Mom used to like the commercial with the raisins, the California raisins, and she'd always look at that and say, "How do they do that?" And all those raisins up there dancing along. But see, she was born in 1902, so as she was coming up, everything was just starting to.
Yeah.
See, that's when revolution of things really started happening at the beginning of the 1900s, and just evolved along the way, and it's just amazing how things. See, we just went around the moon the other day. just, it's mind-boggling to think of the things and really, most of the time, we don't even think about them, we just use them and go on.
Yeah.
But we don't think how amazing it is to just to pick up our phone and, or even having that phone there, and it's taking my picture the whole time we're talking. How's it doing that? You know, and it's putting there. And yeah, but it is just like magic. So, just a lot of things you don't think about, but if you stop and think of all the different things, you know, how we fly all over the world now. Back in the 1900s, you'd never thought about that.
Nope.
I mean, it just,
The Wright brothers did.
huh?
The Wright brothers did.
You make what?
Wright brothers,
Wright brothers, yeah. That's about when they was long,
Yeah.
wasn't it, in the night,
early 1900s, yeah.
yeah. From going off that cliff and floating out through there to getting motorized planes. Then they had the planes they flew in battle, even in World War I, and then World War II, they had a little bit more sophisticated, and then after that, the jets came along that
Yep.
traveled faster than the speed of sound, several times faster than the speed of sound.
Yeah.
I forget how fast, they've got some jets that can fly across the United States in less than an hour.
Yeah.
Those fighter jets, they fire them up and take off. So it's amazing the things, you know, could you imagine getting in a plane and being in California and landing in New York in less than an hour?
Even the Concorde went across the Atlantic Ocean in 3 hours.
Yeah.
You know, unreal.
Yeah, you know, we just, in a way, as things have progressed, we just take those things and don't really think about it, but we're getting closer and closer to things that we can do anything we want to if we sit and figure it out. They even are prolonging life a little bit. That's what I told my sister-in-law when the doctor said he was trying to get her 8 more years. I said, well, he's doing better than God. God don't promise us tomorrow. Don't matter how healthy we are, he'll have a limb fall off a tree and hit us in the head, and that's the end.
Yeah.
Oh well, I better move on. Now, verse 7. Come, let us go down and confuse their language so that they will not understand each other. So the Lord scattered them from there over the earth, and they stopped building the city. That is why it was called Babel, because where the Lord confused their language of the whole world. From there, the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth. So, I put that there. Now I'm going back to chapter 10. And we'll start with verse 1 here. This is an account of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, Noah's sons, who themselves had sons after the flood. The son of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Maddah, Javah, Tubal, Muski, and Taras. And if I said it wrong,
So be it.
sometimes they don't. When I got this in there to print out, it says they spelled all those names wrong. It's got that underline. I said, these guys made a mistake here. Okay. Now, it's funny, he just brings up 2 of Japheth's sons. And I don't know if that's because The rest of them might have just had daughters. They might have not had any sons. I don't know what the reason is, but the sons of Gomer, Ashkezar and Riphath and Togarmah, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And the sons of Japheth, and we had Elishas, Tarish, Kilbin, and Rodanites. Okay, oh, last two was knights, Kenites and Rodanites.
Maybe they were twins.
So it says, from these, the Maronite people spread out into the territories by the clans within their nations, each with their own language. Now see, that's why I went with the first part of 11 and then come back to 10, because in each one of these, they'll be going to their own language, and that's what God did after Babel. Confused their languages, and all of them had their own language. It said, I put down notation here. It's got Isaac of the Gentiles. The word rendered Isis, it's I-S-L-E-S, Elise, means any maritime region. As there was no Gentiles at this time, the phrase should be translated the coastland of nations. So that's what when it goes to the maritime, that's what it should have been instead of. So, I don't know if that was important or not, but it sort of explained it. So we go to the sons of Ham, Cush, Egypt, Put, and Canaan. Now those were pretty easy.
Very.
Then you have Cush goes wild here, and I ain't gonna name all those. He picks out the son of Remamon, Sheba, and Dana.
Yep. D-Dan.
Yeah, that's more like D-Dan.
D-Dan?
D-Dan.
Okay. We got one right out of all those. It says Cush was the father of Nimrod, who became a mighty warrior on the earth. Now they did say in the commentaries that Nimrod was like a ruler once he got notified, and they thought maybe he was the head ruler over Babylon there when they was building the tower. So, and I could have that wrong, but that's what I got out of it. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. That is why it is said, like Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. The first sinners. I don't know how I got re-sinners out of that. I can just, well, it could be, I converted the ER and put it in front. The first sinners of the kingdom were Babylon, and it goes on and on and on, that the land he went to Syria, there he built Nineveh, and he goes through another one, and we talks about Nineveh there, and we know where Nineveh's at, because it's in the book of Jonah. That's where we got, was Jonah dead or alive in the fish? Because he didn't want to go to Nineveh and preach at Nineveh. But when he did, he done better than he wanted to do. I always figured Jonah just hated the Ninevites so much that, boy, he was telling them just exactly what God was going to to do to him, and he was enjoying every second of it. Once he got going, he said, and I'm going to sit here and watch this. Yeah. So, go on here after that. Verse 13, Egypt was the father of, and we got a whole bunch of people there who from whom the Philistines came. So, see, as you go down through these, it tells you how it breaks up in different nations.
Nations, yeah.
So, to me, reading the first part about Babylon and how he broke the people up, it made more sense for me to come back. The chronological Bible wasn't that way, but I changed it for them. I put the first part of chapter 11 before this. And Canaan was the father of Sidon, his firstborn, and of the, I ain't gonna read all those. And after the Canaanites came, what is that, after the Canaanites were scattered,
Yep.
and the border of Canaan reached from Sydney towards Gerar and Kazah, singing a song. Then towards Sodom and Gomorrah. So Ham was the one. His son Canaan got cursed, but you've got the Ninevites coming out of there. Now you got Sodom and Gomorrah coming out of there. So that was more of a corrupt clan, it seems like. So we know what happened. Goes to chapter 18 of Genesis where Abraham pleads for Sodom. That's when we found out that when God went to meet with Abraham, there was 3 of them. You know, if you just read it, it said God went to talk to Abraham, and then there was 3 men there, and he brought them into his tent. But all the time he was talking to God. So in my mind, we had God, the Holy Spirit, and Jesus all sitting there, because after when they got through talking to him and they was walking away, and they said, well, should we tell him what we're going to do to Sodom and Gomorrah? And they was counseling between themselves. Just sort of something when you're reading, sometimes you just read over the top of it, but then if you go back and look at it, it makes more sense that way. I don't know if that's Robert in that white truck. He's always the only one sitting in there when we go up to.
Yeah, he drives a white truck.
Okay. So we go on to verse 20. These were the sons of Ham and their clans and language in their territories and nations. So then we go to the Seminites. Sons were also born to Shem, whose older brother was Japheth. Shem was an ancestor of all the sons of Eber. And I don't know what that's got to do with the program. I looked at the commentaries, but I didn't see nothing that really stood out. The sons of Shem, well, the only one that I noticed that really stood out was the third one over. And when I asked them how to pronounce it, it didn't make sense to me after they pronounced it for me. I'd say Apheriax.
Apheriax sounds good to me.
And the sons of Aram, I guess is the way you say that. And here's that guy I was talking about, the father of Shinnah, and Shinnah is the father of Eber. And 2 sons were born to Eber. Peleg,
Peleg, yeah, Peleg.
and Jordan. Now, Peleg, somewhere else in the Bible, I don't know where it's at, but I remember that name. And see, we had the first one up there that said Shem was the ancestor of all the sons of Eber, and then we had Eber down here. 2 sons were born to Eber.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And Jodan was the father of a whole bunch of them.
Well,
And all these were sons of Jodan. The regions were, they lived stretched from Mesha towards Sitar and in the eastern hill country. They are the sons of Shem by the clans and languages in the territories and regions. They are the clans of Noah, sons, and according to their lines and descendants within their nations. From these, the nations spread out over the earth after the flood. And if you go in the commentaries, it'll break down. Some of them is in the where Germany was at, and some of them was where Spain's at, and it breaks down the different regions according to our maps today of what how they was. Where are we at here?
11.
We probably got time to finish this up. We're going back to chapter 11 now. And it says this is the account of Shem's family line. 2 years after the flood, when Shem was 100 years old, he became the father of that same guy, Arphaxad. And after that, he became the father. And after that, he became the father of Shem lived 500 years. Did I miss something there? He became the father of
And after becoming the father of Anarat, Shem lived to be 500 years and had other sons and daughters.
I was just wondering, they brought it, I was just looking at the way it became the father of that guy, and then after that, he became the father of that guy again.
Well, it just says, he became the father, and then after he was the father of him, he had more sons and daughters. It's kind of confusing the way it read, but yeah.
You know the way I read, and then I read that, and I said, boy,
Yeah.
am I saying that right?
Yeah, it almost looks like he
Repeating
himself, but it's.
And then we come back to that guy again,
Yeah.
and he lived 35 years, and he became the father of Shelah. And after he became the father of Shelah, he lived 403 years. As we watch this though, and going through it, they're younger and younger when they have their first children, get married. And Shelah lived 30 years, and he became the father of Eber. And after he became the father of Eber, Shelah lived 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Eber was 34, he became the father of Peleg. And after he became the father of Peleg, Eber lived 430 years and had other sons and daughters. Peleg lived 30 years.
He lived 30 years before he became a father.
Yeah. And he became the father of you? Rear? Okay, and after, let's see, where was it? Oh, right there. And after he became the father of Peleg lived 209 years. Now life after this, it seems like our life expectancy getting shorter,
Yeah,
and had other sons and daughters. I never looked at that, but, Eber lived 430 years.
yeah,
He might have lived longer than his son, because his son technically only lived 209, and Reuben lived 32 years
yeah.
and became the father of.
That's when he became a father, about 32 years. Then he got older.
Huh?
He became a father at 32, and then he lived years after that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but still in all, see, Gerber was 34 and lived another 430,
Yeah.
so he was 460 some,
yeah,
and this one was 30 and lived another 209, so he was 239 years old, so he didn't live as long as his dad did. His dad was still living when he died. And he lived 32 years. He became the father of Sabru, and after he became the father of Sabru, Ru lived 207 years and had sons and daughters. Then Sabru lived 30 years and became the father of Nanor, and after he became the father of Nanor, he lived 200 years and had other sons and daughters. When Nanor lived 29 years, that's the first one to hit the 20s.
yeah.
He became the father of Tara. And after he became the father of Tara, he lived 119 years. So he didn't,
He died young.
yeah. And had other sons and daughters. After Tara lived 70 years, he became the father of Abram, Nabal, Haran. This is the account of Tara's family line. Tara became the father of Abram. Tara and Hannah became the father of Lot. So that's how we come up with, they was cousins. When his father Tara was still alive, Hannah died in Ur of the Chaldeans
Yeah.
in the land of his birth. Abraham and Sarah both married, and the name of Abraham's wife was Sarah, and the name of Noah's wife was Melchi. He was the daughter of Hanan and the father of both Melchi
Yeah.
and
Isca.
Iscah.
Yeah.
And Sarah was childless because she was not able to conceive. Tara took his son Abram and his grandson Lot of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarah, the wife of his son Abram, and together they set out from Ur of Chanaan to go to Canaan. They went, but when they came to Haran, they settled there, and Terah lived 205 years, and he died in Haran. So that finishes that up. Got through that, but that was the reasoning I went with chapter 11, because after that, all of them broke into their own clans with their own languages, and it just seemed like to me that they should have had that first part of chapter 11 first.
Yeah.
But in my chronological Bible, didn't.